The screens across the galaxy flickered to life at exactly the same moment. Every television, every computer display, every communication device showed the same terrible image. A massive crystalline creature stood before countless rows of human prisoners. The creature's body sparkled like broken glass, and its voice echoed with the sound of grinding metal. Admiral Zexathara of the Veltar Empire raised one of her 4 arms. Behind her, 7 million humans knelt in perfect lines that stretched beyond the horizon. Men, women, children, soldiers, farmers, teachers, doctors, all of them captured during the war that had raged for 3 long years. The prison moon of Caraxes 7 had become humanity's graveyard. People of the galaxy, Zexathara spoke. Her words translated into every known language. Today you witness the price of defiance. The humans have refused our generous offer of surrender. They continue to fight against the natural order of the universe. On Earth, President Chen sat in the emergency war room, surrounded by generals and advisors. The room was dead silent except for the alien's voice coming from the massive screen. Admiral Rodriguez, head of Earth's space fleet, gripped the table so hard his knuckles turned white. 3 years ago, these humans appeared in our galaxy like insects, Zexathara continued. They have no respect for the ancient ways. They refuse to bow to their betters. Today we show what happens to those who forget their place. The alien admiral gestured to the enormous machines that surrounded the human prisoners. They looked like giant tuning forks made of the same crystal material as the Veltar themselves. Energy began to dance between the prongs, creating a low humming sound that made viewers across the galaxy feel sick. Dr. Sarah Kim watched from her laboratory on Luna Base. She had been working on secret weapons for months, but nothing seemed powerful enough to stop the alien empire that controlled thousands of star systems. Tears ran down her face as she recognized some of the prisoners. They were colonists from Proxima 4, the farming world that had fallen 6 months ago. The device you see is called a disintegration field, Zexathara explained with what sounded like pleasure in her voice. It will separate every atom in their bodies. They will simply cease to exist. No pain, but also no mercy. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of her stealth ship, hidden in an asteroid field near enemy space. Her crew watched in horror as the alien continued her speech. Santos had lost her brother in the first attack on the Centauri colonies. Now she was about to watch millions more humans die. We offer this demonstration to any species that thinks resistance is wise, the alien admiral said. Submit to the galactic hegemony or share the fate of these humans. The machines activated. The first row of humans simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next moment there was empty space. No smoke, no flash of light, no sound. They were simply gone as if they had never existed at all. The second row disappeared. Then the third. The machines worked their way through the massive crowd like an invisible wave of death. Children reached for their parents just before they vanished. Soldiers stood straight and proud until the end. Old people closed their eyes and waited. On Earth, President Chen stood up slowly. Her face showed no emotion, but her hands shook with rage. Around her, hardened military officers wiped tears from their eyes. Some of them had family in those colonies. The killing continued for 3 hours. 3 hours of watching humans disappear row by row. The alien cameras showed every detail. They wanted the galaxy to see exactly what happened to those who opposed them. 7 million human lives, Zexathara announced when it was over. 7 million examples of what defiance costs. This is our final warning to Earth. Surrender now, or we will do this to every human world until none remain. The broadcast ended. Across human space, people stared at blank screens in shock and horror. In the past, other species had surrendered immediately after seeing such demonstrations. The Morvani water dwellers had given up their entire civilization, rather than face the disintegration fields. The insect-like Zephyrins had become willing slaves to avoid the same fate, but humans were different. Commander James Park sat in his ship near the edge of human space. His crew was silent, but he could feel their anger like heat from a fire. They had all seen friends and family in those prisoner lines. Park himself had recognized his former teacher from the military academy. Dr. Kim received an emergency message on her computer. All research projects were being moved to maximum priority. The secret weapons program that had been moving slowly for months was now humanity's only hope. She looked at her team of scientists and engineers. They all had the same expression on their faces. Not fear, but cold determination. Admiral Rodriguez received reports from across human space. Every military base, every colony, every ship was asking for the same thing: orders to attack, permission to fight back, authorization to show the aliens what humans could do when they were truly angry. President Chen walked to her private office and locked the door. For the first time since the broadcast ended, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of what had happened. 7 million people, 7 million citizens she had sworn to protect, 7 million lives lost because she had refused to surrender humanity's freedom. She sat at her desk and began writing orders. Not surrender documents, but war declarations. The aliens wanted to see what humans became when they were backed into a corner. They were about to find out. Across the galaxy, other species watched and waited. Most expected Earth to surrender within hours. The humans were tough fighters, but they were new to galactic warfare. They could not possibly stand against an empire that had conquered half the known universe. The Veltar Empire controlled 3,000 star systems. They had fleets that could destroy planets. They had weapons that could make entire species disappear. What could one small world of primitive humans possibly do against such power? Admiral Zexithara returned to her flagship, satisfied with the day's work. The human problem would be over soon. Their leaders would see reason in surrender. If not, she had plenty more disintegration fields ready for use. But something strange happened in the hours after the broadcast. Earth went completely silent. No communications, no surrender offers, no pleas for mercy. The human homeworld simply stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. 24 hours passed. The silence continued. Other species began to whisper among themselves. What were the humans doing? Why weren't they surrendering? Had the shock been so great that their government had collapsed? Zexithara ordered her intelligence officers to scan human space for activity. What they found confused them. Every human world was busy with activity, but not the activity of a civilization preparing to surrender. Factories were working at maximum capacity. Ships were moving in organized patterns. Military bases were expanding rapidly. It looked almost like the humans were preparing for war. But that was impossible. No species prepared for war after seeing 7 million of their people killed on live broadcast. Every civilized species in the galaxy had learned to submit when faced with such overwhelming demonstrations of power. The humans, it seemed, had not learned that lesson. As the 24th hour approached, Admiral Zexithara began to feel something she had not experienced in centuries of conquest. Uncertainty. What were these strange creatures planning? What could they possibly do that other more advanced species had not already tried? She was about to find out that humans had one quality that no other species in the galaxy possessed. When faced with the choice between submission and death, humans chose a third option. They chose to make their enemies regret ever threatening them. Exactly 24 hours after the massacre, every screen in the galaxy activated again. This time, the broadcast came from Earth. President Chen stood behind a simple wooden podium in the White House. She wore a black dress, and her face was calm but cold. Behind her stood representatives from every human colony world. Their expressions matched hers perfectly. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice carrying to every inhabited world. Yesterday you watched the galactic hegemony murder 7 million human beings. You saw them kill children, families, innocent people who had never harmed anyone. Admiral Zexithara watched from her command ship, surrounded by her officers. She expected to hear words of surrender, pleas for mercy, offers of submission. Instead, President Chen continued speaking in that same cold, controlled voice. The hegemony calls this justice. They say we humans must learn our place in their empire. They believe fear will make us bow down like every other species they have conquered. Chen paused and looked directly into the camera. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight that made listeners across the galaxy feel uncomfortable. They are wrong. On the Veltar homeworld, government officials gathered around screens to hear what they assumed would be humanity's surrender. Instead, they heard something no species had ever said to their empire before. I am here to formally declare the galactic hegemony guilty of genocide against the human race. This is not a war crime or a military action. This is the deliberate murder of civilians for political purposes. It is evil, and it will not stand. Dr. Kim watched from her laboratory where she had been working without sleep for 24 hours straight. Around her, teams of scientists and engineers continued their frantic work on projects that had been theoretical just days before. The hegemony expects us to surrender now. They expect us to become their slaves like every other species in this galaxy. They have made one critical error in their calculations. President Chen stepped closer to the camera. They assume we are like other species. They assume we will choose survival over freedom. They assume we will trade our dignity for our lives. They have never encountered humans before. Commander Park watched from his ship, where his crew had been preparing for orders that everyone hoped would come. Their weapons were loaded, their engines were ready, and their hearts burned with rage that demanded satisfaction. We do not surrender. We do not bow. We do not forgive the murder of children. The president's voice grew harder with each word. Instead, we declare total war against the galactic hegemony. But we are not monsters like they are. We will not target civilians. We will not murder the innocent. We will destroy their military forces, capture their leaders, and dismantle their empire piece by piece. Admiral Rodriguez stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching displays that showed human fleets moving into position across known space. The Phoenix protocols had been activated. Every civilian ship was being converted for military use. Every factory was producing weapons. Every human colony was becoming a fortress. You wanted to see what humans become when you back us into a corner, Chen said, and for the first time, something like a smile crossed her face. It was not a pleasant expression. You're about to find out. The president gestured to someone off camera. Dr. Kim stepped into view, carrying a briefcase that she set on the podium. Dr. Sarah, Kim will now demonstrate what human science can accomplish when we are properly motivated. Dr. Kim opened the briefcase and removed a small device that looked like a metal sphere. She placed it on the podium and stepped back. This is a glassmaker device, she said in a voice that was surprisingly calm for someone about to change galactic history. It uses quantum cascade reactions to destabilize matter at the molecular level. Everything within its effect radius simply stops existing. She pressed a button on the device. The wooden podium, the floor beneath it, and the air in a perfect sphere around the device vanished completely. The device itself fell to the floor below, which was now visible through the perfectly round hole. Across the galaxy, military analysts began calculating what such weapons could do to space stations, battleships, and planetary defenses. The numbers were terrifying. We have been building these weapons for months, Dr. Kim continued. We have also developed stealth technology that makes our ships invisible to your sensors, artificial intelligence systems that can predict your tactics, and other surprises that you will discover when you try to stop us. President Chen returned to her position in front of the camera. We also have something else, something your empire has never faced before. She paused, letting the tension build. We have humans who are angry, humans who have seen their children murdered on television, humans who will not rest until every person responsible for yesterday's atrocity faces justice. Captain Santos watched from her stealth ship, where teams of engineers had been installing new weapon systems all night. Her ship was one of dozens that had been secretly modified over the past months. The aliens had no idea what was coming for them. To the member species of the hegemony, we offer this choice. Withdraw from their alliance now and we will treat you as neutral parties. Continue to support them, and you will share their fate. Chen's expression softened slightly as she addressed the galaxy's other species. We know many of you joined the hegemony because you had no choice. We know they conquered you just as they tried to conquer us. When this war is over, you will be free to govern yourselves as you see fit. The president's face hardened again as she looked back at the camera. To the Veltar Empire specifically, we have a different message. You chose to make this personal when you murdered our civilians. You chose to broadcast it across the galaxy to humiliate us. You chose to threaten our extinction. She leaned forward, and her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. But every word carried, clearly across space. Now we choose to show you what extinction really looks like. President Chen straightened and spoke, in her normal voice again. This broadcast is being sent to every inhabited world in the galaxy. We want all species to understand what is about to happen and why. The age of the galactic hegemony is over. The age of human justice has begun. She stepped back from the camera. We are not asking for your surrender, Admiral Zexthera. We are not offering you terms. We are simply informing you that your empire will be destroyed. Your military will be eliminated, and you personally will face trial for genocide. Dr. Kim returned to the podium carrying another device. To prove we are serious, We will now demonstrate our capabilities on one of your military outposts. The base at Kepler 442 has been selected because it contains only military personnel and no civilians. She activated the device. On screens across the galaxy, viewers could see a distant star system where a massive space station orbited a dead planet. The station housed 50,000 Veltar soldiers and served as a major supply depot for their fleets. The station simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next moment there was empty space. No explosion, no debris field, no trace that it had ever existed. That was a long-range glassmaker bomb, Dr. Kim explained calmly. We can target any location in the galaxy with pinpoint accuracy. Your shields and armor mean nothing against quantum cascade technology. President Chen returned to face the camera one final time. The countdown begins now. Every day that passes, we will destroy more of your military infrastructure. Every week that passes, we will eliminate another fleet. Every month that passes, we will liberate another conquered species. She paused, letting the implications sink in. You have 7 million deaths to answer for. We will not rest until justice is served. The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On the Veltar homeworld, emergency sessions began immediately. For the first time in their empire's history, they faced an enemy that seemed completely unafraid of them. An enemy with weapons they did not understand and a determination they had never encountered. Other species began sending secret messages to Earth, asking about the neutrality offer. The Morvani aquatic species sent word that they were withdrawing from the hegemony immediately. The Zephyrin insect colonies began preparing their own declarations of independence. But Admiral Zexithara was not ready to accept defeat. She had conquered dozens of species and destroyed entire civilizations. She would not be intimidated by primitive humans, no matter what weapons they claimed to possess. She began issuing orders for a massive military response. The humans would learn that threatening the galactic hegemony carried a price higher than they could imagine. What she did not know was that the humans had spent their day of silence preparing for exactly this response. They were ready for her, and they had weapons that would make her regret every decision she had made since the day she ordered the massacre on Caraxes 7. The war for the galaxy's future was about to begin, and for the first time in their history, the Veltar Empire was about to learn what it felt like to be afraid. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of her ship, the invisible hand as it drifted silently through the Veltar home system. Around her, 23 other human vessels moved like ghosts between the alien orbital platforms. Their stealth technology made them completely invisible to enemy sensors. Target confirmed, whispered Lieutenant Chen from the scanning station. Military Platform 7 has 1,200 Veltar officers aboard. No civilians detected, Santos nodded. The no-quarter protocol was clear. Military targets only, but no mercy for those who served the Empire that had murdered 7 million humans. She opened a communication channel to the other ships in her squadron. Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix Leader. Begin transmission of Package Alpha on all frequencies. Across the alien home system, every communication device began broadcasting the same footage. The massacre at Caraxes 7 played on repeat, showing row after row of human civilians being disintegrated. But now the images were accompanied by something new, the names and faces of every victim. Sarah Martinez, age 8, from New Terra Colony. Dreams of becoming a doctor. Robert Kim, age 45, teacher and father of 3 children. Maria Santos, age 72, grandmother and retired nurse. The list went on and on. 7 million names, 7 million faces, 7 million stories of lives cut short by alien cruelty. On the Veltar military platforms, soldiers watched in confusion as their screens filled with human faces. Most had never seen individual humans before. The hegemony propaganda always showed them as faceless enemies, not as children with dreams and grandparents with kind eyes. Unknown vessels detected, shouted a Veltar sensor operator. They appear to be human ships, but our scanners cannot lock onto them. Captain Santos smiled coldly. Phoenix Squadron, weapons free. Show them what humans learned from their demonstration. The glassmaker bombs activated simultaneously across 12 different platforms. Unlike the slow methodical killing at Caraxes 7, the human weapons worked instantly. Entire sections of the orbital station simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect spherical holes in the massive structures. But the humans did not destroy the platforms completely. Instead, They left them crippled and defenseless, with their surviving crews trapped and helpless. "This is Captain Santos of the Earth Defense Force," she broadcast to the damaged stations. "You are now prisoners of war. You will be treated according to the rules of civilized warfare, which is more than your people showed our civilians." Across the galaxy, Commander James Park led a different kind of attack. His squadron had surrounded the massive hegemony shipyard at Nexus Station, where the aliens built their largest warships. The facility was protected by energy shields and defended by a fleet of battleships. Park had brought something special for this target. "Deploy the Reaper swarms," he ordered. From the human ships, clouds of microscopic nanobots spread out like invisible fog. The Reapers had been designed with one specific purpose: to consume alien technology while leaving organic life completely unharmed. The nanobots passed through the energy shields as if they were not there. They ignored the alien crews entirely. But they began eating the metal hulls of ships, the circuits of computers, the crystalline components of weapon systems. Within minutes, the most advanced shipyard in the galaxy became a collection of powerless hulks drifting in space. 50,000 Veltar engineers and workers found themselves trapped aboard ships that no longer functioned. "Attention Nexus Station," Park broadcast. "Your weapons are gone. Your engines are dead. Your life support systems have been spared, but everything else has been consumed. You are now our prisoners." The alien commander tried to respond, but his communication systems had been eaten by the nanobots. "Do not attempt to resist," Park continued. "You are alive because we choose to let you live. Remember that when you think about the children your empire murdered." Dr. Kim watched the battle reports from her laboratory on Luna Base. The new weapons were working perfectly. Human fleets were striking hegemony targets across hundreds of star systems, and the aliens seemed unable to respond effectively. "Ma'am," said one of her assistants, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different species. They want to withdraw from the hegemony immediately." Kim nodded. "Forward their request to President Chen. Our focus remains on military targets until the Veltar leadership surrenders." She turned to her latest project. The Genesis bombs were nearly ready. Unlike the glassmaker weapons that destroyed matter, these devices could reshape entire planets, turning barren worlds into garden paradises or transforming hostile environments into perfect copies of Earth. The psychological impact would be enormous. The aliens could destroy worlds, but humans could create them. Admiral Rodriguez coordinated the attacks from Earth's orbital command station. Reports flooded in from across human space as the systematic destruction of hegemony military power continued. "Admiral," said his chief of staff, "the Veltar are attempting to rally their remaining fleets for a counterattack." "Intelligence suggests they're planning to strike at Earth directly." Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Let them come. It's time to show them our final wall." President Chen addressed the galaxy again, this time from the command center as reports of human victory scrolled across screens behind her. "People of the galaxy, the liberation of your worlds has begun. In the past 72 hours, human forces have eliminated 47 hegemony military installations, captured 300,000 enemy personnel, and freed the populations of 12 conquered worlds." She paused as new information appeared on her display. "The Morvani Aquatic Federation has declared independence from the hegemony and requested human protection. The Zephyrin insect colonies have done the same. 6 other species have announced their withdrawal from the empire that once claimed to rule them." Chen's expression remained stern. "But this is not enough. The leadership of the Veltar Empire must face justice for their crimes. Admiral Zexathera must answer for the murder of 7 million innocents." Captain Santos led her squadron to the next target, a massive prison facility where the Veltar held political prisoners from dozens of species. The facility was defended by energy barriers and automated weapons systems. "Phoenix Squadron, prepare for liberation operation," she ordered. "Remember, there are innocent people inside that station." The human ships used precision glassmaker strikes to eliminate the defensive systems while leaving the prison structure intact. Within minutes, the facility was defenseless. "Attention Prison Facility Delta 7, Santos broadcast. This is the Earth Defense Force. You are surrounded. Release all political prisoners immediately, or we will take them by force." The alien warden responded with threats and demands that the humans withdraw. Santos cut him off. "You have 5 minutes to comply. After that, we assume you are choosing to resist." 4 minutes later, the prison doors opened and thousands of aliens from dozens of different species began floating toward the human rescue ships. Many of them had been imprisoned for years for the crime of refusing to serve the hegemony. As the rescued prisoners were brought aboard human vessels, they told stories of torture, forced labor, and summary executions. Each story added to the growing list of crimes that the Veltar Empire would have to answer for. Commander Park received new orders as his squadron completed the destruction of another military base. The Veltar were gathering their remaining forces for what appeared to be a massive assault on human space. "All units, prepare for Operation Homecoming," he announced to his crews. "The enemy is coming to us. It's time to show them what happens when you threaten humanity's home." The Veltar fleet that approached Earth was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 2,000 ships, including the massive dreadnought World's End, which carried planet-killing weapons designed to crack worlds like eggs. Admiral Zexithara commanded the fleet personally. She had decided that the human problem required a permanent solution. Earth would be destroyed completely, along with every human colony in space. The species that dared to defy her empire would be erased from existence. What she did not know was that the humans had spent months preparing for exactly this moment. The Final Wall Defense Network had been disguised as research stations and communication satellites, but it was actually the most powerful weapons system ever built. As the alien fleet approached Earth, they found themselves facing something no military force in galactic history had ever encountered. A completely unified human civilization willing to fight to the death for their freedom. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the outcome would determine whether humanity survived as a free species or disappeared forever into the darkness of space. But the aliens were about to learn something important about humans. When fighting for their homes, their families, and their children, humans become something that the galaxy had never seen before. They become unstoppable. Admiral Zexithara stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought World's End as her fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 ships spread out in perfect formation behind her, representing the combined military might of the galactic hegemony. "Begin scanning for human defensive positions," she ordered her tactical officer. "I want every weapon platform, every ship, every asteroid base identified and marked for destruction." The scanner results confused her officers. They detected thousands of small objects throughout the system, but most appeared to be research stations, communication satellites, and civilian installations. Earth's actual military fleet seemed surprisingly small. "Admiral," reported her intelligence officer, "we detect only 200 human warships defending the planet. The rest of their forces appear to be spread across their colony worlds." Zexthara's crystalline features showed satisfaction. The humans had made a tactical error by dividing their forces. Earth would fall easily and the rest of human space would collapse afterward. "Target the planet directly," she commanded. "We will demonstrate the power of our planet-killer weapon. One shot will crack their world like an egg." On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez watched the alien fleets approach from the orbital command station, hidden inside what appeared to be a simple research facility. Around him, technicians monitored displays showing the positions of every hegemony ship. "Admiral," said his chief of staff, "the enemy fleet is moving into attack formation. They appear to be preparing their main weapon." Rodriguez nodded calmly. "Activate the final wall. All stations prepare for full defensive protocols." Across the Sol system, thousands of innocent-looking satellites and research platforms suddenly revealed their true nature. Quantum energy fields began connecting them in a vast network that surrounded Earth like an invisible shell. Dr. Kim watched from Luna Base as her greatest creation came online. The final wall was not just a shield. It was a quantum mirror that could reflect any energy weapon back at its source with increased power. "Quantum field stability at maximum," she reported. "We're ready for whatever they throw at us." Admiral Zexithara raised one crystalline arm and pointed at the blue-green world ahead of her fleet. "Fire the planet killer. End this war now." The World's End unleashed a beam of pure destruction that could vaporize entire continents. The weapon had cracked dozens of worlds during the hegemony's expansion across the galaxy. Nothing had ever survived its full power. The beam struck Earth's quantum defense field and simply bounced back. The reflected energy hit the World's End with 3 times its original strength. The massive dreadnought, pride of the Veltar fleet, exploded in a flash of light that could be seen from Mars. Admiral Zexithera died instantly, along with 50,000 crew members, when her own weapon destroyed her flagship. "All ships, retreat," screamed the surviving Veltar commanders. "The humans have weapons we cannot defeat." But Admiral Rodriguez was not finished with them. "Luna Base, deploy the hunter-killer swarms," he ordered. "Let's show them what happens when you threaten our home." Dr. Kim activated her latest creation. Clouds of nanobots spread out from hidden launchers throughout the system. These were not the Reapers that consumed technology. These were something far more terrifying. The hunter-killers could think. They could learn. They could adapt to any defense the aliens tried to use against them. And they had been programmed with one simple mission: disable every enemy ship but leave the crews alive to face justice. The nanobots swarmed through the fleeing alien fleet like a plague. Ships lost power, weapons failed, life support systems shut down just enough to be uncomfortable but not fatal. Within an hour, the greatest military force in galactic history became a collection of powerless hulks drifting helplessly in space. "Attention surviving Veltar forces," Admiral Rodriguez broadcast to the crippled fleet. "You are now prisoners of war. You will be treated according to civilized standards, which is more than your empire showed our people." President Chen addressed the galaxy from the White House, with images of the defeated alien fleet displayed behind her. "The Veltar Empire's last great fleet has been defeated. Admiral Zexithara is dead, killed by her own planet-killing weapon when our defenses reflected it back at her ship." She paused to let this information sink in across the galaxy. The age of the galactic hegemony is over. Species that were conquered by the Veltar are now free to govern themselves. We offer protection to any world that requests it, and trade partnerships to any species that wants them. Commander Park led a squadron of human ships toward the Veltar homeworld. The crystalline aliens had attempted to evacuate their government, but human intelligence networks had tracked their escape routes. "Crystal Base, this is Commander Park of the Earth Defense Force," he broadcast to the alien homeworld. "Your empire is finished. Your military is defeated. Your leaders are fleeing like cowards." The response came from the Planetary Defense Commander, a Veltar named General Kexmora. "You humans may have won some battles, but you cannot conquer our homeworld. We have billions of civilians who will fight to the last breath." Park's response surprised him. "We are not here to conquer your world, General. We are here to transform it." Dr. Kim had sent Park something special for this mission: Genesis bombs that could reshape an entire planet's surface in a matter of days, replacing the crystalline landscape with forests, oceans, and meadows that looked exactly like Earth. "We call this process terraforming," Park explained as his ships deployed the devices. "In 72 hours, your world will become a garden planet. Your people will not be harmed, but they will live surrounded by a very clear reminder of what human technology can accomplish." The Genesis bombs activated, and the Veltar homeworld began to change. Crystalline structures crumbled and were replaced by flowing rivers. Barren rocks became rolling hills covered with grass. Harsh alien skies turned the soft blue of Earth's atmosphere. Captain Santos led the operation to capture the fleeing Veltar government. Their ships had been tracked to a hidden base in the outer rim, where they thought they could plan a counterattack in safety. They were wrong. Santos's stealth squadron surrounded the base without being detected. When she finally revealed her ships, the alien leaders realized they had nowhere left to run. "This is Captain Santos. You are completely surrounded. Surrender immediately or we will disable your ships and take you by force." The Veltar tried to negotiate, offering territory, resources, even tribute payments if the humans would spare their leadership. Santos cut them off. "There will be no negotiations. You ordered the murder of 7 million innocent people. You broadcast their deaths across the galaxy as entertainment. You declared war on our entire species." She paused, remembering the images from Caraxes 7. "You will face trial for genocide. You will answer for every life you took. And you will spend whatever time you have left making amends for your crimes." The alien leadership surrendered without firing a shot. President Chen made one final broadcast to the galaxy, this time from the transformed Veltar homeworld, which had been renamed Memorial. "The war is over," she announced, standing in a field of flowers that had grown where a Veltar military base once stood. "The galactic hegemony no longer exists. Every species is free to choose its own path." Behind her, Former Veltar civilians worked alongside human volunteers to build monuments honoring the victims of Caraxes 7. 7 million small gardens, each one dedicated to a specific person who had died in the massacre. Justice has been served, but our work is not finished. We must now build a galaxy where such atrocities can never happen again. Dr. Kim stood beside the president, holding plans for new technologies that could help rebuild the worlds damaged by centuries of hegemony rule. We offer our knowledge freely to any species that wants it, she said. Science, medicine, technology, everything we have learned will be shared with those who seek peaceful progress. Admiral Rodriguez announced the establishment of new galactic laws, enforced by human fleets but governed by representatives from every free species. The Caraxes Accords declare genocide to be the highest crime against all sapient life, he explained. Any species that targets civilians for extermination will face the combined response of the entire galactic community. The trial of the surviving Veltar leadership was broadcast across the galaxy. They were not sentenced to death despite their crimes. Instead, they were condemned to spend their remaining lives maintaining the memorial gardens on their transformed homeworld, surrounded every day by reminders of the innocent people they had murdered. Former Admiral Zex Thara would have faced the same sentence, but she had died when her own weapon was turned against her. Many considered this a mercy she did not deserve. The galaxy had learned something important about humans during the short, brutal war. When pushed to their limits, humans did not break. They did not surrender. They did not become victims. Instead, they became something the galaxy had never seen before. Protectors who were strong enough to enforce justice but wise enough to show mercy. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and at the center of it all stood humanity, no longer the newest species in the galaxy but its reluctant guardians. They had won more than a war. They had won the right to shape the future of every world under the stars. 5 years had passed since the end of the hegemony war. President Chen walked through the memorial gardens on the former Veltar homeworld, now called simply Memorial. Each of the 7 million small gardens held a stone marker with a name, a face, and a story of someone who had died at Caraxes 7. The crystalline landscape was gone, replaced by rolling hills, clear rivers, and forests that looked like they had grown naturally for centuries. Only someone who knew the truth would understand that this entire world had been transformed by human technology in just 72 hours. President Chen, said Ambassador Velcara, one of the former Veltar who now served as a liaison between her people and the new galactic government. The morning ceremony is ready to begin. Every day at sunrise, the surviving Veltar leadership tended the memorial gardens. It was not just their legal sentence. Many of them had come to see it as necessary for their own healing. They had spent centuries believing that strength meant the right to destroy the weak. Now they learned what real strength looked like. Chen nodded and walked to the central memorial, where a simple stone listed all 7 million names. Former General Kexamora knelt beside a flower bed, carefully watering plants that grew around a marker for Sarah Martinez, the 8-year-old girl who had dreamed of becoming a doctor. She would have been 13 now. Kexamora said quietly when she noticed the president watching. I try to imagine what she might have accomplished if we had not stolen her future. This was why the human justice system worked better than simple execution. Death would have ended the criminals' suffering quickly. Living with the consequences of their choices every day for decades was a punishment that actually changed them. Dr. Kim approached from the research facility that had been built at the edge of the memorial site. She now led the Galactic Reconstruction Project, helping species that had been damaged by centuries of hegemony rule. The Morvani water worlds are almost finished, she reported. Their oceans were poisoned by hegemony mining operations, but our nanobots have cleaned out all the toxins. They should be able to return to their homeworlds within the year, Chen smiled. The Morvani had been the first species to surrender to the hegemony, giving up their entire civilization rather than see their people killed. Now they were free, and their worlds were being restored to the paradise they had been before the conquest. What about the Zephyrin colonies? More complicated, Dr. Kim admitted. The hegemony forced them to strip mine their worlds for resources. We're using Genesis technology to rebuild the landscapes, but it will take time to restore the complex ecosystems their species needs. Captain Santos walked up to join them. She now commanded the Galactic Patrol, the peacekeeping force that prevented conflicts between the free species. Admiral Rodriguez sends his greetings, she said. The defense grid is fully operational. Every inhabited system now has protection against planet-killer weapons and genocide bombs. The defense grid was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Quantum field generators that could protect any world from the kinds of weapons the hegemony had used. No species would ever again face extinction because they refused to surrender their freedom. Any new threats? Chen asked. Santos shook her head. The Outer Rim pirates tried to raid a Zephyrin supply convoy last week. We arrived before they could do any real damage. Most of them surrendered when they realized they were facing human ships. This was the galaxy's new reality. Human technology was so advanced and human determination so well known that most conflicts ended before they began. Nobody wanted to fight the species that had destroyed the galactic hegemony in less than 6 months. Commander Park arrived from his patrol of the border regions. He commanded the Explorer Corps, human ships that made contact with new species and offered them membership in the Galactic Cooperative. We found 3 new civilizations this month, he reported. All of them requested immediate protection and technology sharing agreements. Word of what happened to the hegemony has spread beyond our local galaxy cluster. Chen was not surprised. The story of humanity's war against the Empire had become legend across known space. Other species saw it as proof that freedom was stronger than tyranny. That cooperation was more powerful than conquest. They walked together to the council chambers, where representatives from 47 different species gathered each month to discuss galactic affairs. Unlike the old hegemony system where the Veltar made all decisions, every species had an equal voice in the cooperative. The morning session was dealing with a request from a newly discovered civilization that wanted protection from raiders threatening their colony worlds. The patrol can have ships there within a week, Santos offered. 3 destroyers should be sufficient to discourage any further attacks. Approved unanimously, announced the Morvani representative who served as this month's rotating council leader. Motion passed. This was how problems were solved now. Quickly, fairly, and with the overwhelming force of the combined galactic community backing every decision. After the council session, Chen visited the Memorial Archive, where every piece of information about the Caraxes 7 massacre was preserved. Visitors from across the galaxy came here to understand how easily civilization could slide into barbarism, and how important it was to protect the innocent. A group of young Veltar students was touring the archive with their teacher. Unlike their parents' generation, these children had grown up learning about cooperation, respect for other species, and the importance of protecting the weak. "Why did our people do such terrible things?" asked one of the students. Their teacher, a former hegemony officer who had been captured during the war, considered the question carefully. "Because we forgot that strength without mercy is not strength at all," he said. "It is just violence. The humans showed us what real strength looks like." Chen smiled and moved on to her next appointment. Dr. Kim had something new to show her. In the Advanced Research Laboratory, Kim had been working on humanity's greatest project yet. Not a weapon this time, but something far more ambitious. "We call it the Genesis engine," she explained, gesturing to a massive device that filled an entire chamber. "It can create new worlds from scratch. Not just terraform existing planets, but actually build solar systems with custom-designed worlds for any species' specific needs." The implications were staggering. No species would ever again fight wars over habitable worlds, because humans could simply create new ones as needed. "The first test run will create a perfect water world for the Morvani refugees," Kim continued. "After that, we can build forest worlds for the tree-dwelling arboreals, crystal worlds for Veltar survivors who want to preserve their traditional culture, and any other type of planet that species might need." Chen watched through the observation window as the Genesis engine began its work. In the empty space near Memorial's sun, energy fields started gathering cosmic dust and debris. Within hours, they would have built a small planet. Within days, it would be covered with oceans and ready for life. Admiral Rodriguez called from Earth with the weekly security report. Human patrols now covered most of the known galaxy, ensuring that no species could threaten another with genocide or conquest. "We've had requests for protection from 17 new civilizations this week," he reported. "Most of them are small colonies that heard about the cooperative and want to join. Any threats? Nothing significant. A few old hegemony loyalists trying to start rebellions, but they have no ships, no weapons, and no support. Most Veltar civilians are more interested in learning human farming techniques than fighting wars. This was the most remarkable change of all. The species that had once conquered half the galaxy now spent their time growing flowers and learning to cook food from dozens of different worlds. The transformation was so complete that sometimes Chen wondered if they were really the same people who had once terrified the entire galaxy. As evening approached, Chen attended the daily memorial service. Representatives from every species in the cooperative gathered to remember the victims of Caraxes 7 and renew their commitment to preventing such atrocities in the future. The service was simple but moving. 7 million names were read aloud, one for each person who had died. It took 3 hours, but nobody left. The entire galaxy stopped to remember children who would never grow up, families who had been torn apart, and dreams that would never be fulfilled. When the service ended, Chen walked to her favorite spot in the gardens. It was the memorial for Maria Santos, the 72-year-old grandmother who had shared a name with the captain who now protected the galaxy from pirates and raiders. "We kept our promise," she said quietly to the stone marker. "Your deaths were not meaningless. The galaxy is free now, and it will stay free." A young Veltar child approached with a handful of flowers she had picked from the meadows. Without saying anything, she placed them on the memorial and walked away. This happened every day now. Children from dozens of species brought gifts to remember people they had never met, but whose sacrifice had given them freedom. Chen's communication device chimed with a message from Earth. A new species had been discovered at the edge of known space, one that had been hiding from the hegemony for centuries. They were